Race fans have been coming to Long Beach, California since 1975 to see the world's best road racers compete. Today, on speed, that tradition continues as the world's premier sports cars and drivers from the American Le Mans Series take over the streets of Long Beach.
The American Le Mans Series, world-class drivers, premier road courses, and cutting-edge technology. Born in France in 1923 with the first running of the 24 Hours of Le Mans, the American Le Mans Series is the glory and the grueling reality of world-class sports car racing. Drivers from around the world strut their speed, skill, and endurance. 4 separate classes racing on the track at the same time. It is the chain that connects the new and the faithful sports car fans of an extraordinary racing tradition. This is the American Le Mans Series.
For more than 35 years, the seaside circuit of Long Beach has been America's racing glamour spot. Just a short drive from Hollywood, Long Beach has always attracted the glitterati that mingle with the fans to see racing's best. They have all turned out again to see the Tequila Patron American Le Mans Series at Long Beach. Today, with 4 different classes of cars racing on the track at the same time, that means action at every turn. Welcome to the Porsche Countdown to Green. Hello everyone, I'm Brian Till along with Calvin Fish, Dorsey Schrader, Jamie Howe, and Chris Neville are down on pit road, and Long Beach has long been known for its international flavor, somewhat of North America's version of Monaco, and the American Le Mans Series certainly has international flavor as well. 74 drivers from 17 countries represented here today, 10 manufacturers from 6 different countries, 4 tire brands, and 5 different types of fuels will compete on the tight circuit here at Long Beach. And Dorsey and Calvin, we're in round 2, just the beginning of this season. But when we look back to round 1 at Sebring, both literally and figuratively, these 2 events couldn't be any further apart.
You're right about that. When you talk about Sebring, of course, you're down in Florida on the East Coast. That's the longest venue they race at, 12 hours in length, all the way out to West Coast. Here in Long Beach, this is the shortest amount of time these cars will race at 1 hour 40 minutes.
And Dorsey, today's race will be intense. It's a street race, it's a short race, and you have to be mistake-free, as there's really no time to recover here. And if you hit pit lane more than once today, your chances of victory are going to be very slim indeed.
Well, and you say it's a short race and you need to be mistake-free, and that is because this racetrack is probably one of the most challenging that you will find on the American Le Mans Series circuit. Let's take a look at a lap.
For the American Le Mans Series, Long Beach Street Circuit is very much like Monaco is for Formula One. A great vibe here, great atmosphere, and a very intense racetrack. 11 turns, just shy of 2 miles, and we're on board with the Dyson Racing Lola. Up through the gears, maximum speed will be hit right at the end of this straightaway, about 180 miles an hour. That's going to be hard on the brakes for turn 1. This is where the cars have to funnel down through here, particularly at the start of the race. It's going to be very tricky indeed, and the racetrack here is very narrow. Here's the fountain turn. Going to have to be very careful here, particularly on cold tires. Look at the speed difference between the various classes. That's a GT2 Corvette right in front of the Dyson car. You have to be patient here. Coming off of turn 5, look at the little jump in the road there. You saw the Corvette there, grab a little bit of air, traction control be kicking in, then it's hard on the brakes. It's a nice rhythm through here. This is turn 6. Down through a little curve here, turn 7. Then look at this concrete canyon that the drivers are having to deal with. There are some runoff areas. You have to be careful again. Traction control kicking in. Very bumpy there on the exit. Down the long back stretch. This is Seaside Way. Heading down towards turn 9. Very bumpy here. Under braking. You have to be careful. Look at the traffic up ahead. Again, very narrow through this section. You'll feel that you have enough speed to take advantage of these cars, but you have to wait. You have to be patient. Slowest corner on the racetrack, the hairpin turn, about 30 miles an hour here at Apex, and it's jumping on the power, trying to get a good launch here to take advantage of your straightaway speed along Shoreline Drive.
As if the racetrack wasn't challenging enough, certainly the idea of 4 different classes of cars running at the same time makes it even more so. And for the first time in American Le Mans Series competition, the 2 LMP categories, the prototype categories, are combined.
And it's going to be intriguing, Brian. 2 different specifications. The cars have been equalized in performance. The P1 spec have been slowed down with an increase in weight and reduction in horsepower. They still remain the fastest down the straightaways. The P2 specification remains unchanged performance-wise since Sebring. They have a larger fuel cell, now 90 litres, which will help them with their strategy. Handling and grip is their strong suit.
Choose your weapon and see if you can find your way to the checkered flag. The man on the pole, no stranger to being fast, and Chris Neville has caught up with our pole sitter.
Brian, even though this is the first time we run this combined format, qualifying couldn't have been more exciting. Adrian Fernandez and his Aston Martin narrowly edging out Simon Pagenaud and the HPD by 0.07 of a second. Adrian, you look across the front row, and that's essentially the car that you won here last year. Now we run this combined format between the 2 classes. How does that change prototype racing at Long Beach?
Well, it's like the old days, you know, when we had the Audis, I think 2008, where it was a lot closer. You know, the car is essentially the same, the P2, and ours, they took a little bit of power. So in the straights, obviously, we're quicker, but they're a lot faster on the corners. So it's, you know, we have to use the traffic in our advantage, and they know they cannot do that, but they have to make it all in the corners.
The 2 classes so close in qualifying. Which is the package to have in the race?
The Aston Martin.
Confidence on the part of Adrian Fernandez. Let's talk GT now.
Well, GT is an extremely competitive formula. All cars between 450, 500 horsepower. They have a minimum weight of 1245. They'll run 155 to 60 mile per hour here today.
And that beautiful red number 62 Risi Competizione Ferrari that you see there certainly knows how to get things done. They did at Sebring. Can they do it here at Long Beach?
Risi Competizione's Jamie Malo was able to set a new track record on the way to that pole position, Jamie, by over half a second. You captured it. Why is that so important on a street like Long Beach?
Yeah, I mean, the street track, it's quite tight, so it's really hard to overtake, and qualify is really important. And yeah, we did a very good time on the qualifying, and hopefully we can keep up on the race as well. I think we got a very consistent car also for this kind of races.
Your co-driver, Jimmy Bruni, this is his first venture around the Long Beach street course. Does that make you a little nervous with him finishing?
No, I know him a long time ago, and so I trust him very well, and I think we can do really well.
And their car only has 5 laps on that set of tires from qualifying.
That should be a fresh Ferrari to run with. New this year as well in the American Le Mans Series, the challenge classes. Let's start with the LMP Challenge.
Well, this is a very exciting new class with identical cars. They run the Orica chassis, Chevy engine producing about 430 horsepower, and it's really putting the emphasis on the teams and drivers to really find that edge in performance, about 160 miles an hour down this front stretch.
And along with the LMP Challenge, GT Challenge.
And in the GTC class, all the cars are Porsche 911s, putting out about 450 horsepower. They all weigh the same, 1,205 kg. And top speed, a remarkable 155. It's a competitive class. It's brand new.
Well, in the LMP Challenge category, it was Level 5 Motorsports that won at Sebring. Can they get it done again here? Well, they'll start from up front. For more, let's go to Chris Neville.
Well, Level 5 grabbed that victory at Sebring, and now the team and their drivers new to Long Beach, they grabbed the pole here. Christoph, 36 cars on the racetrack. Essentially all these LMPC cars are the same. How tough is this race going to be?
Well, it will be tough, like usual, and especially on a track like this at Long Beach. It's really nice, but it is in a city, and especially at the first few laps, everybody have no grip, a very low grip, so it will be hard. And qualifying was working very well. Was first pole position this year, so really great.
Good luck today.
Thanks.
Andy Lally wasn't even supposed to be racing here this weekend, but Andy, here you are and on pole nonetheless. It's the first time the GTC cars have been on a street circuit. What's going to be the key to survival?
The main key to survival here at Long Beach for our TRG Future Electronics Hitachi car here is stay out of trouble. You know, we're going to be looking in our mirrors as much as we are looking out our front windshield here. These guys are super aggressive here, and it's tough to pass on a street circuit, so we've got to have our wits about us, both within our class and with the other classes as well.
The American Le Mans Series has come to Long Beach for a street fight all the way to the West Coast, and the fans, they have gathered to watch it happen. You couldn't ask for a more beautiful scenery for an event like this. The weather is absolutely perfect. The competition will be intense. The battle at Long Beach for the American Le Mans Series will commence when we come back to the beach right after this. Speed's coverage of the American Le Mans Series is presented by Tequila Patron. Brought to you in part by BMW, the ultimate driving machine, and by Michelin, a better way forward. See the boats in the harbor here around the Long Beach circuit. You know, to win at any American Le Mans Series event is difficult at best, but every racetrack has its own little nuances, guys. And when you go to those racetracks, there's certain keys that you need. What are the keys to victory here at the beach?
Well, the pits will be crucial here today, Brian. Very long pit lane here. It takes 40-plus seconds to drive through, so penalties will be devastating to you. Very tight pit boxes will certainly make it tough under yellow with a crowded pit lane. And finally, the critical call will be, do you take tires today or just take fuel to save time?
Second up on that is traffic. With the addition of these challenge classes, we've added more car count and a higher diversity of speed between the cars as well as the drivers. That being said, this is a road street circuit, and it's concrete canyons around this place. When you sit in these cars, you sit below the height of that wall. It's like driving through a canyon. We're going to have to get through that traffic without crashing, and I tell you, they've got their hands full today.
They do indeed. Those are the BMW keys to the race. If you can hold them in your hand, perhaps you'll be tasting champagne at the end of this event. We've heard from some of our drivers who have qualified up front, but what about the rest of the field? Take a look at the Patron starting grid, and let's introduce you to the rest of our 4 class pole sitters.
Adrian Fernandez from Mexico City.
I am Harold Prima. I come from Geneva, Switzerland.
Christophe Bouchu, Paris, France.
Scott Tucker, Leawood, Kansas.
I'm Jamie Melo, I'm from Brazil.
I'm Gianmaria Bruni, I come from Italy, Rome.
Andy Lally, Northport, New York.
Henri Richard, Los Altos Hills, California.
See the rest of the grid scrolling across the top of the screen. I know there is all type of strategy being contemplated down on pit road and plenty of stories as well. Jamie, what do you have?
Well, in talking with the GT drivers before the race, Brian, they all said don't expect any first lap heroics from us. Even though the starting position is very important and you want to get out front early, they said don't count on it right now because we just need to get through the first couple of laps early. First and foremost, we have to survive this race, and with all the traffic and all of the incidents that they've had over the practice and qualifying sessions, they just want to make sure that they get through the first couple of laps, so don't expect any big moves early on in the race. Chris, what do you have?
Well, Jamie, Calvin was talking about teams possibly coming in getting new tires or not getting new tires, and now this decision just doesn't come down to tire wear. Teams also thinking about the pickup that the drivers are going to be having to deal with. Pickup, that spent debris on the racetrack when they come offline to come in and out of pit lane. Drivers saying that it takes about a lap or a little bit more than a lap to clear that pickup off. So the time you make up by not taking tires in pit lane, you might lose on the racetrack trying to clean those tires off.
And we're running late in the day here as well, guys, so the track temperature is very cool. I would imagine we get full course cautions and you stay out. You don't elect to come in. Those tires will cool relatively quickly, and pickup there could be an issue.
We should also say that this is the very first time these race cars have been on the racetrack today. They haven't had a practice yet today, so they're learning as they go. And that pickup, Calvin?
Yeah, that's going to be crucial, and I think what Chris is talking about there, if you come, particularly under caution, if you stay on the hot rubber, I mean, Brian, you're talking about it cooling down, but another aspect of that is the hot rubber, if you stay on the same tires, when you go back out there and trundle around under yellow, you're going to pick up those marbles, you're going to get that pickup. If you've got fresh tires on, they're cold, they're not going to get as much pickup, so that is a big factor here if you do pit under yellow.
And as cool as it is, with these pace laps right now, hard to get temperature in the tires, I would imagine. These first couple of laps, it's going to be a skating rink.
It really is. I spoke to Klaus Graf this morning. He said, boy, this car's a real handful on cold tires. And he said, I think what David Brabham has an advantage starting on the front row is that the HPD chassis really seems to come alive quickly, and I think that's going to be the fact here at the start of this race with David Brabham starting on that front row alongside the Aston Martin. The Aston should have the speed going down into turn 1, but David Brabham realizes he needs to attack quickly.
And what makes this start so hard at Long Beach is the fact that the front straightaway where you get the green flags in the middle of a long right-hand sweeping turn, and then you go down onto a brake zone. Remember, this is a city street. There's a big crown to the road, so when it rains here, the rain goes in the gutters. Well, when you're side by side, the left side tires are down in that gutter. Right side guys on the other side are on the other side, and the braking zone is not flat as a result of that, and we get in trouble getting into turn 1.
Well, and you think about it, too. We heard Jamie say nobody's going to do any heroics, but you got to think about it. It is hard to pass on a street circuit. If you give something up at the beginning, it may be hard to get it back. How hard are you going to fight? We're about to find out. The beautiful blue and orange Aston Martin there, and then the HPD along beside it. Those were formerly a P1 and a P2 category. We're about to find out where the horsepower lies, and it's with Adrian Fernandez as he jumps on at the green, and he is gone.
And look at David Bradman. He's getting swamped here. Chris Dyson has gone around him. Here comes John Field. He moves up to third, looking for second. It's Harold Premat driving that Aston Martin up front right now.
And Chris Dyson with a great start with that Mazda. What a jump he had. I don't know what was going on with David. He just got caught out.
He did. He didn't have a good start, and then he got swamped by the high speed of the P1 spec machines, and also that Dyson Mazda seems to have a lot of straightaway speed as well.
Talking about a lot of straightaway speed. John Field there as that engine comes on in that former P1 car. Remember, different specs, has a little more horsepower. The straightaways are its friend. The guys in the different spec car, they need to pull out the gap through the twisty bits.
What an impressive performance by Harold Premat. He has taken off at the front of this field, and that was certainly unexpected. Everyone expected that David Bradman would be the man who would be hounding this Aston Martin during this opening lap, but Harold got the perfect start, now really starting to show his stuff in these prototype machines.
Guys, John Field had a problem with his car in qualifying. We had a practice lap on him to put him on top of the sheets right before qualifying. Something happened in the car. It shook violently. We don't know what happened to it yet, but that car could be a contender today.
Well, Dorsey, they had originally thought that there was a problem with the nose on that car, but then taking a better look at it, he just flat spotted the tire. So he had a massive vibration, wasn't able to get the laps he wanted in qualifying, but said, this car is awesome. We are going to be challenging for the lead early on in this race.
And awesome it is as you see him sweep around the Dyson entry there. Impressive stuff, and you saw Clint Field sitting on the box watching his father flash by going, yeah, go for it, Dad.
I think he showed some emotion right there. Clint Field at the first race, the opener at Sebring, had a horrific crash. Car completely destroyed. This car built out of a spare they had back in Ohio. And this is the first laps for this man who was really beat up bad in that crash.
Well, John Field is certainly one of the bravest drivers out there, and to rebound from that horrific shunt at Sebring and be strutting his stuff towards the front of this field is just unbelievable. We're going to look at the remaining debris from that shunt that he had earlier in the test week. Look at this stuff.
You don't see a crash like this often that a driver can literally get up and walk out of. John did that, but boy, let me tell you, he paid a physical price.
It looks like a debris field that you would see at an airplane crash. Just horrifying stuff.
Yeah, and that debris, what was left of the car, essentially nothing. The only usable part, they were able to salvage the dash on that car. And what happened there is one of the bolts at the back end of the car that brings the suspension into the gearbox. That bolt came loose, so essentially the back end of the car fell to the ground, the nose went up, and he was going so fast the car just went right up in the air.
I tell you what, David Bradman is probably very frustrated right now. He looks like he's got a little bit more cornering and handling than the Dyson Mazda, but down that front stretch, Chris Dyson just pulls away from him. David will need all of his experience here today to just be patient right now. He didn't get the start the team were looking for.
Remember, David qualified on the pole here last year in the P1 Acura chassis that they ran there, but then the victory taken away. But I've got to give credit to Harold Premat. He took off so quickly at the start. I was just thinking Adrian Fernandez in qualifying and didn't give the kudos where they belonged. And look at this, Brabham makes the move. Is he going to get it done? Can he keep Dyson behind him when they get to this back straightaway?
Well, that was turn 6. He come through that little curve. Now this is turn 8. He's going to try and get a really good launch off of this corner. But that Mazda has a lot of grunt down this back straightaway. Will he come back at him? I think once we get into traffic and David makes a move, he'll be able to get it and get some cushion with traffic. Can he hold on here? Yes, he does. Now he needs to stretch a little bit more through these corners, 10 and 11. He stretched it out. Is that enough of a buffer to maintain that position down this front straightaway?
The battle in the prototype category so good. It's been hard to keep track of GT, but we'll certainly get you there. Now look, a problem. Really bobbled coming off of the hairpin. Stuttered or stumbled a little bit.
Dyson has a problem. He does not have the speed that he's had before. Meanwhile, one of the LMPC cars is off into the tire wall.
Now, this is one of the problems we've seen throughout the weekend. These LMP Challenge cars, the transmission, the gearbox on them, very difficult to engage reverse. Some of the other categories, much easier to find that reverse gear back out of a problem like this. With the tire wall there, I would imagine the damage not too extreme, but if he cannot back that car out, they will have to bring out a full course caution.
It's very hard to do these cars as far as changing gears from the standpoint of These are paddle shifter cars, so you push a button, it's a computer-controlled shift. Well, if you're in a top gear, or if you're third, fourth gear like it probably is, you can't get to reverse until you get to first, and it doesn't want to shift down when it's not rolling.
Let's go back to GT, where it's a very familiar sight from what we saw at Sebring, and that is the number 17, the Team Falcon Tire Porsche. It has jumped to the front. Wolf Hensler leads the GT category, and we saw them run so strong at Sebring.
They did, but one of the things with this tire is that it does seem to show a lot of speed and grip, but can it maintain that grip through the course of a long stint? And I think that's one thing that the competitors are thinking about too. Yes, he has the lead now, Dorsey, but can he hang on to it?
You see Tom Papadopoulos right there. The car that went into the wall did get reversed, did get backed up. He's got a banner off the wall, off the tire wall, wrapped around the front of his car, and you can see he's jockeying forward and backward. They don't have a lot of front steering angle on these cars, so it's not that easy to get turned.
Now this is impressive stuff. The battles we have seen already. Just a little bit of foreshadowing of what is to come here at the Long Beach Grand Prix. Impressive stuff around this circuit, and the American Le Mans Series competitors certainly getting after it. While we go full course caution, take a quick opportunity to take a quick break, and we'll come back to the beach and more American Le Mans Series action. Thursday on Speed on an all-new bull run with Bill Goldberg. 4 teams remain, but only 3 can move on to the final round. In this leg of the rally, if you're not first, you're thrown into the challenge, and you can forget alliances there. Every man's for himself now. All-new bull run Thursday, 10 p.m. Eastern, only on Speed. Great views of this facility from the helicopter. It is spectacular. The crowds are here and some great racing going on. The 99 leads right now in the LMP Challenge category. Green Earth Team Gunner. For more on that team, let's head down to the pits and Jamie Howe.
Not only are they leading the race, Brian, but they're also leading the environmental chase. They're the only team and the first team in the American Le Mans Series to race on environmentally friendly G-Oil. Gunnar, tell me about this product. They say that changing your oil can change the earth?
Absolutely. Well, G-Oil is now the official motor oil of the American Le Mans Series, and we're the only car running it right now. So I think it's going to take a couple wins for the people to figure it out that it actually is an advantage. But it's 100% biodegradable, as said so by the EPA. You can. It's not encouraged to pour it in the ground, but it'll biodegrade completely in 12 days, and it's comparable, if not better, to Mobil 1 or Shell or any other motor oil out there.
Certainly it's a good thing for the environment, but we're back to racing, guys.
Talk about good stuff and being green. The track is green and the race is on. Harold Premont got a good jump at the start originally, but John Field, he is angry now, and he is going to be charging, boys.
He wanted that lead bad, Dorsey. He thought about it, but finally tucked back in.
And if he can stay up underneath the back, when he gets to the straightaway this time, look out, boys. He's got the bit between his teeth.
Well, once again, you got to give it to Harold Premont, who is doing a fantastic job. You tend to think of Adrian Fernandez is the quicker of the 2 drivers in that car, and he may well be, but the development of Harold has been pretty darn impressive. Holding his own with John Field in the braking zone there, getting up to speed very quickly, already beginning to pull a gap. You got to be impressed.
Remember, he's actually raced in Sebring. He was over in Paul Ricard last week, finishing second. A nice podium finish for he and Adrian over there in the first round of the European Le Mans Series. So they aren't rusty. They've not been sitting still since the breaks in Sebring.
But Harold doesn't know John Field, and we do. Watch what happens
He'll
now.
know about him shortly. Oh, John gets a little bit wide.
Oh, and Harold gets wide as well. Is there fluid down there? Everybody seems to be.
There is. There's fluid.
Everybody slipping and sliding a little bit. Harold got loose, and I think that balked John a little bit, as well as the fluids down. Didn't get the jump he wanted, but look at him close.
Look how they stretch, though. Look how these 2 cars stretch it over David Brabham down that front stretch. In qualifying yesterday, Simon Pagenaud was losing about 9 tenths of a second down this front stretch in comparison to Adrian Fernandez in the Aston Martin.
And you know, for Brad, he's sitting there going, this could be a long
wide
day.
again. There's got to be oil
there
everywhere.
Is oil. There's your source of it, possibly.
Oh, and that's Dyson.
Yep.
That's Dyson's car in the
turn
wall.
1.
I think there is fluid down.
Get it out of there, just reverse.
I don't think it was Dyson's car that laid the oil down, because they were already by that.
You could see a shiny streak around the fountain turn as well. I think we've got a car that is putting some fluid down. Meanwhile, Chris Dyson trying to engage reverse as well. And that is a bad place to be, because you know the rest of the field is coming, and if you slipped on oil, everybody else has to go through it as well.
Here. Take a look, Dorsey.
just quit turning. You saw he turned in around the apex of that corner. Car just took off straight. He wasn't locked up. I mean, you can't blame that.
And you saw him come off the hairpin and get really squirrely. You see the racing car.
No, that's a different story. He's hit the wall over here.
Is that the original cause of our fluid, or is that another?
No, he's hit the wall right here.
I think he's got in the oil and created more damage and more fluid on the racetrack.
That is the 63,
now
the TRG entry. Andy Lally behind the wheel, so.
And Andy doesn't make mistakes like that. He's unfortunately liberally.
No, it's Henry
Richard
Richard behind the wheel.
He's wetting down the racetrack pretty badly. I don't think that was the cause, though. He's been in the wall.
Yeah, I think he got caught out by the fluid that was on the racetrack, but there's certainly a culprit out there who's leaving some fluid on the racetrack and creating drama for everyone. You see the front radiator design on these Porsches there, just split one of the ends there.
And the radiator fluid, the water is fine. It's the oil that you don't want to have. But we talk about the G oil a little bit earlier. Well, that takes us right into the Michelin Green X Challenge, which is a vital manufacturer competition within each of the 2010 American Le Mans Series races. And it rewards the greenest prototype and GT team at each event. The race car that goes the farthest, the fastest, and with the smallest environmental impact registers the best score. And you can follow the competition throughout the season at AmericanLeMans.com. You see the teams looking on, watching the feed here, trying to figure out what's going on, talking to their drivers. The other thing we have to be cognizant of, how much time is gone by in this race, because once we pass the half-hour mark, we'll start to get into pit windows for the competitors. Make sure you don't miss a lap here at Long Beach. Round 2 of the American Le Mans Series continues from Long Beach, California, the Long Beach Grand Prix circuit. And it's Harold Primat, I should say, who is out in front and has been since the drop of the green. Spectacular stuff. I mean, he jumped off at, even from the first restart, guys, he really got on that Aston Martin-powered prototype and jumped the entire field. It'll be interesting to see, can John Field now do anything with that Aston as the drag race begins to turn by side. He's got the lead so far.
And he cuts him off. Atta boy, John. Now we're going to have some fun.
Yeah. Now John has Dunlop tires. It's Michelin's on the Aston Martin, so we'll have to see how they come in. And I think Harold Primat wisely chose not to try and outduel him down into turn 1.
Well, I'm sure George Howard Chappell with the team principal there, probably saying, just let him go. It is a long way to go. And for John Field, though, this has to be so good, so satisfying after the trials and tribulations that we've chronicled already.
Not only for him mentally, but for his team. It's been a long time since this car's been at the front of one of these races.
And he's getting really deep there, squirming around, locking the rears up,
and
on the entry at turn 8.
Think about the budget differences as well. A small family team up front, and right there, and Aston Martin behind him, and Honda behind that. And that's another thing that has to feel so good for this small team. John Field, who seems to know no fear after that huge crash at Sebring, came back and he said, when I got back in the car on the first test after we took it to Putnam Park to test it, I said, were you cautious? And he said, no, I just said, I'm getting back on the horse. I lit up the tires, did the longest burnout I could down pit lane, and from then on, it was just flat out. And look at the gap that he has pulled.
Great job. But believe me, John is playing hurt, and there's nothing better that when you're playing hurt than adrenaline, and he's full of it right now.
Yeah, I tell you what, not only neck issues, his wrist is hurting him bad, so we'll have to wait and see what sort of pace he can maintain. And this racetrack will beat you up. There's a lot of bumps out there. He's going to pound himself over.
His knees are sore, stitches in his knees from how they banged around in the car. But like you said, Dorsey, the best painkiller is probably adrenaline. And John Field really beginning to pull the gap. But look at David Brabham hanging on to the back of the Aston.
I have to think that maybe Harold got a bit too much pickup during that caution there. It's maybe taking him some time to get those tires clean again.
And look at the gap that they have pulled out. But back to the GT battle. We talked about it earlier, and the 62 had gotten around the 17. The red Risi Competizione Ferrari had gotten around the 17 of Wolf Hensler just before that full course caution, but Hensler has remounted that attack and taken that Porsche back to the front of the GT category.
In addition to getting a brand new car for the year, Team Falcon Tire also added a brand new engineer in John Ward. John used to be with Fernandez Racing. He's engineered cars for this Long Beach circuit for a number of years, and he said, it's amazing with how different the prototypes and the GT cars look, how similar they actually are. Wolf Hensler came into this race confident that he has a car that was perfectly set up for the streets of Long Beach.
Well, of course, John's car won here last year with Adrian Fernandez and Luis Diaz in the P2 category, and he's right. I mean, these engineers take their notebooks from series to series, year to year, and some of the tricks of the trade will work even in a different category, in a different series. But right now, he is feeling the heat. Jamie Mello is really putting the pressure on here. He started on the soft tires from Michelin, put them on for qualifying yesterday, had a great balance and laid down a lap that had the whole paddock really aghast at where did that one come from. It was the perfect lap by over a half a second.
And right in front of Wolf Hensler, you see two LMP Challenge cars, the red number 36, J.R. Hildebrand out of the Genoa stables, and then Elton Julian in the 99, the green LMP Challenge car that you see right there. They are right there in front. And one of the things I noticed, the LMP Challenge cars do not have traction control. When they came off the hairpin the last time, they got really loose. The GT cars behind them do. The GTs actually got a better launch, and it kind of congested things a bit.
Well, one of the things that these guys can do is be a little bit more aggressive with their setup in terms of not having to try and preserve the tires. They have to do a mandatory 4-tire change in both of the challenge classes here in the sprint races this year. So all of these challenge cars will see 4 tires going on the car during the course of the race today.
Plus, on these prototype cars, there's 2 places on the circuit where you're under 40 mile per hour. One was right there at the hairpin, and the other's over there by the fountain turn. Now, at 40 miles per hour, there's no downforce on that bodywork any longer, and it doesn't have as much grip without the traction control as the GT car. The GT cars are probably, in fact, faster on those slow areas.
Oh, look at this. Jamie Mello really starting to put the pressure now on Wolf Hensler. He wants that lead. He wants to be able to control this race. Your strategy calls are so much easier when you're leading than when you're behind.
And the question really is, how long will the tires stay fast on the 17? Remember, this team is a development team, Team Falcon Tire. They're working on these tires race in and race out, but the weakness is not how fast they'll go, it's how long they'll go fast.
The thing is, however, that team was together last year and did race on the street course, and they had a pretty good car then. So that development of that tire is pretty good. I think the team itself is hoping, A, it's a good tire, and that we will get enough cautions to keep cooling it off.
And Wolf knows this place. He sat on the pole here last year with Farnbacher Lowell, so he certainly knows how to drive one of these. But here comes Jamie Mello. He's going to look to the inside. No. Thinks better off it. That was close. He's certainly thinking about making a move down into turn 9 there under braking.
What about the drive that Jamie Mello and Pierre Caffer had here last year? They did qualify in the number 1 position in GT, but were sent to the back of the field. They drove from the back to finish second. So talk about a car with good balance, but what happened in the hairpin at that point in time? Looks like Hensler really leapt away.
Hensler got to the throttle first, and it did bite. It hooked up pretty good, as we see right now. The 88 spun around here on the track. That's one of the problems here at Long Beach on a street circuit. When you spin, there's not a lot of room to get turned back going in the right direction.
Oh, this is tight. Look at the prototype machines coming through there. There's Jerry Vento in that GTC car just trying to stay out of the way, and it's so narrow through that section of the racetrack, through the fountain turn there, almost impossible.
And it stacked that whole group up, and that was kind of the point I was getting to. You know, there's no room to turn around, and when you do turn around, if there's guys coming, there's nowhere for them to go either.
And here come the GT leaders now by Jerry Vento, and that battle has not subsided at all. The other thing that I noticed in the LMP Challenge battle, Greg Pickett is now slotted between those 2 cars. So we have literally battles all around this racetrack. I said it was going to be a street fight, and it certainly is. Mello up underneath the back of the Porsche in that red Ferrari from Risi Competizione. He looks to the inside again, but nothing doing, and you've got to be impressed. Wolf Hensler, that Porsche, those tires doing a great job against a very well-known commodity in the Ferrari package from Risi.
Absolutely. Here. These 2 guys. Oh, look at that. They trade some paint there. Jamie tries to give him a little bump there coming off the hairpin.
Well,
that was close.
He tried to loosen him up so the Porsche doesn't get that rear wheel launch that it gets with that engine back there. You know, that's where he's getting that advantage off the hairpin. That thing is putting the power down. Ferrari's probably slipping the wheel a little bit.
The battle continues here at Long Beach. The battle in GT right now, a very good one indeed. The fans are certainly enjoying it. And John Field enjoying the view from up front here in round 2 of the American Le Mans Series in 2010. Coming at you from Long Beach, California. Let your favorite driver take you to victory lane with the Wind Tunnel Super Sweep 7 fantasy game. To play, just pick 7 racers every week, score the most points, and win great prizes. For more details and to play the Wind Tunnel Super Sweep 7 fantasy game, go to Wind Tunnel page on speedtv.com today. One of the few calms in the storm there as you looked at empty Shoreline Drive, just a lone Porsche heading along. And John Field a bit alone at the front of the pack, a little more than 7 seconds in hand over Harold Primat, who runs second in the Aston Martin. A little further back in the field, the number 8, the Lola of Drayson Racing, with Paul Drayson behind the wheel, having a good run of it. They didn't have the qualifying that they wanted when Johnny Cocker had a bit of a problem with the master switch. But they got that sorted out, and they're back underway.
Yeah, during his qualifying run, they believe it was due to some of the bumps here. The master switch got triggered there, which shuts the car off. All of the power was lost on Johnny's hot lap, and the car had been very fast in practice, but they're trying to recover here. They believe they shouldn't have any further problems with that issue. Paul Drayson has started the car here today.
And if you follow American Le Mans Series competition, you know that Paul Drayson is the Minister of Science and Innovation, Department for Business, as well as Minister for Strategic Defense and Acquisition Reform from the Ministry of Defense in the United Kingdom, and that is a mouthful. I wonder if he gets a paycheck for every one of the titles that he has, but he is one of the big leaders and proponents of green technology and motorsports, and what it means not only for motorsports, but for all of our futures here on this planet.
Climate change is the greatest challenge facing our generation, but we're not going to meet the challenge just by stopping doing the things we love, whether that's flying on vacation or driving our cars or great sports like motor racing. But did you know that the 10 warmest years on record across the globe have happened since 1996? There's no doubt that our planet's heating up, and we've got to take action now. So let's use the science and engineering that we've got. Let's develop it faster in sports like motor racing to make sure that the technologies we develop, things like cleaner fuels, hybrid engines, regenerative braking, which reuses the energy lost from the braking system, gets that back into the power system. Getting all that technology into road cars to reduce the greenhouse gases that are heating up our planet.
And problems we talked about. What a great job Harold Primat had been doing in the Aston Martin, the 007, but definitely a problem turning onto the back straightaway. We don't know whether it happened on his own or whether traffic was a factor in that, but debris now all over the back straightaway. Primat back underway, and he'll have to come to the pits. But damage to the 007, the Aston Martin. Let's take a look. David
Feeling
Brabham.
the pressure from David Brabham. David slices down to the inside. This is turn 8. There is contact there. Harold gets a little bit sideways and clouts the left rear corner.
And I should say, both drivers tried really hard not to have that happen. Let's take a look and listen.
Wow, remember David's move to take the lead here over Romain Dumas a couple of years ago. It worked successfully to get their win that day. He got the position there, but there was contact this time.
You know, both drivers knew at the last moment that they were there together, and they both really tried not to have contact, but there wasn't room for two cars right there.
Well, you talked about the frustration that David Brabham must be feeling early on with the speed differentials between the two cars. But to make that move right there, not alongside of him completely, I know it was an aggressive move, but onto a long straightaway, you got to believe that Harold would have taken it back at the end. My question is, did that move need to happen?
Well, I think, you got to go for it here. We're now hearing there's going to be a stop-and-go penalty for David Brabham for avoidable contact. Now, this will absolutely crucify that team here today in terms of their strategy. It takes 43 seconds. Remember, even though this would be an ideal moment to do service on the car, you're not allowed to when you're making that penalty trip down pit lane. So he's still going to have to go down pit lane to get fuel and do a driver change yet today.
Now we have another look at it, and it's a bit optimistic. You see David dives right down the inside now. Right about here is where they realize they're in trouble. And David drives up on the curb, but it doesn't make any difference. He clips and sends the Aston into the wall.
Disappointing for both of them. Obviously, David Brabham, a champion, and he's not a guy known for aggressive moves like that or moves like that do not come out a little bit cleaner than that. And I know he's going to be frustrated not only with the outcome of it, but I'm sure he's frustrated with himself as well.
Well, guys, and just before the incident happened, I did catch on the radio David talking to the team. It seems like they have a bit of a transmission problem. In the upper gears, the transmission seems to be jumping around. So when they do come in and make their actual stop, not that stop and go penalty, but when they come in and actually service the car, the team is planning to change the steering wheel out. They think it might be something in the electronics there. So when they do their driver change, fuel and tires, they'll also be changing that steering wheel out.
Steering wheel, of course, holds all of the electronic genius that runs the ECU, the brain. When David clicks the shifts, he clicks on the steering wheel up and down, tells the signal back, tells the transmission what to do. I personally don't think that's going to fix the problem.
It's about a third of a lap in terms of the distance of this pit lane in relationship to the racetrack. And again, you cannot service the car when you're serving a penalty.
And it's 36 mile per hour, which is awfully slow over this long of a pit straightaway.
Have to drive down to the end. If it's a stop and go, he will have to shut the power plant down. Oh, he did not.
The key is here, he should be able to stay on the lead lap. If you did service, you would definitely go down a lap. So right now, the key is David should have stayed on the lead lap.
Calvin, you and I heard it. We were on board in that car, and when David was shifting from 4th to 5th gear, somehow it went from 4th to 6th. We both heard it. We talked about it. They denied anything wrong with the gearbox, but it's jumping around between 5th and 6th when he tries to go out of 4th through the upshift.
You also have to wonder if there's any damage to that left side. It looks like the little piece of bodywork right behind the left rear wheel may be loose a little bit. It looks like that stay is broken there. The little stay that comes down and secures that. There's the right side we're looking at. Look at the left side. That has come adrift. And that may be a problem over the course of another hour nearly left in this race.
Guys, just heard some more radio transmission between David Brabham and the team. He's saying he thinks he may have damaged the steering in the car. He said the car is just not pointing the way he wants it to. So when they come in, not only are they going to have to try and deal with that steering wheel, changing out the electronics there to try and get the transmission working, but they're going to take a look at all those members up on the front end of the car and see if the suspension is in okay shape.
Well, there was contact not only with Harold Premat's car, but over those giant rumble strips on the inside. So you've got to wonder if perhaps there wasn't a little bit of damage to the front suspension on either side. Brabham talking about it already. We'll take a quick break from here at Long Beach, where everyone else's woes could certainly play into the hands of John Field as he leads overall from round 2 of the American Le Mans Series from Long Beach. Speed's coverage of the American Le Mans Series is brought to you by Mazda. On any given weekend, there are more Mazdas road raced than any other brand. And more problems here at Long Beach for Harold Premat in the Aston Martin, the 007. A spin and back underway. He had maintained second place after the contact that he had had with David Brabham. But now another problem. That, I believe, was there in turn 1.
Yeah, let's take a look here. Down under braking. Just gets wide of the apex there, decides to bail on it.
Smart move.
Yeah, because if you're not on the right trajectory there, Dorsey, you're just going to hit those tires.
Yeah, as soon as he turned in, he felt the wheels starting to lock up, tires starting to lock up. Said, nope.
He did not pit after that incident with David Brabham. Once he got himself out of that tire barrier, he maintained track position. So he's struggling a little bit here with a damaged race car. That will affect the car under braking. That aero stuff that's now missing certainly has a dramatic effect on these prototype machines.
You can pick it up right there if you want to.
I'm surprised they're leaving that out there.
I am too.
That is the leader in the LMP Challenge class, right behind Harold Premat in that red number 36, the LMPC car, and that is J.R. Hildebrand behind the wheel. And a problem for the 44, Darren Law. I believe the 44 had pitted earlier. Seth Nyman was out. Darren Law in, and that's coming into the horseshoe. The last turn.
The motor, I put it in gear. The gearbox feels like it's working fine. It's in the gear with my foot on the clutch. I release the clutch. It's almost like I've got a great clutch pedal, but it's got nothing. It's like broken input shaft. But that's what it feels like. You know, like there's not even a train connected.
Here, Darren Law diagnosing the problem. Back to the crew. Okay, Dorsey, input shaft.
That is exactly what I would have.
It's a broken axle. I've had broken axles. You can still roll. You can hear it thumping around. There's nothing. It's like completely just nothing.
The input shaft, of course, connects the engine through the clutch to the transmission. What Darren just said, I totally agree with his call on that.
32 laps in the books here at Long Beach, 33 for the leader, John Field. But for this man, Wolf Hensler, what a spectacular job Wolf, Brian Sellers, and this entire Team Falcon Tire group has done here at Long Beach. They ran so well at Sebring, and they have led here at Long Beach almost from the drop of the green. 32 laps in the book. Any question about are these tires going to fall off seems to have been answered.
Well, I think there's two big questions been answered now. We certainly expected John Field to be very competitive at the start of this race, and this driver and team, but no one expected him to be sitting here this far into the race. So this is great stuff for this team in really the early stages of development of the team and the tires.
And Jamie Mello, who was running so close to Wolf Hensler earlier, continuing to tap him in the bumper, coming through the hairpin, is dropped back several car lengths and is really a little bit out of that fight right now.
One of the advantages that was going on right there was Wolf Hensler would come around that hairpin, and with that Porsche's engine at the rear, when he would launch, it wouldn't spin the wheels, he wouldn't get to the rev limiter. The Ferrari started to spin the tires, and it hit the rev limiter, which slows that launch, and you see how much.
Looking back a little further in class, you see the 01 Extreme Speed Motorsports entry. Johannes van Overbeek behind the wheel right now. Remember the huge fire that team had at Sebring with Scott Sharp, team owner, behind the wheel. It was completely engulfed throughout the engine compartment. I talked to Scott the other day. This is the same car. What a great job the team has done to rebuild it, and we're full course caution yet again here at Long Beach.
Oh, we're going to see some action now on pit lane. I mean, just to get with the rules here, driver has to do 30 minutes minimum to get points, and also maximum of 70 minutes for any driver in this race. So they're right in their window. Jamie?
Well, down here with Ed Brown. Ed, the Patron program in 2010 has become quite an immense one. You've got your name on both of these Ferraris as well as the HPD entry. Talk a little about that. Why now? Why the American Le Mans Series?
Well, you know, we started out slow, and each year we just kind of started building on our program, and you know, the American Le Mans Series has just been a great partner. They're letting us do what we really want to do at the track to really start to bring consumers more in here, and you know, they're just great partners, and we're going to continue to build our program here.
Now we see that you just got out of the car. How was it out there? How dirty is the track?
It's dirty. There's stuff all over it. It's really slippery. Turn one's really getting dangerous. There's a lot of water coming out of 3. So it's a handful out there.
All right, and I think pit lane's about to get dirty too, guys, because we're under full course caution.
Under full course caution for debris. I don't want to include Darren Law in the debris, but he's kind of out there on the track, and that portion needs to be moved as well. You heard about Ed Brown talking about, and there's some of the debris that they're going to remove. You heard Ed Brown talking about the growth of their program. That's news, and you can learn all about news from the American Le Mans Series by becoming a follower of the American Le Mans Series on Twitter. You can get the latest news and post your own comments. You can find the series at ALMS Notes. Check it out, or try the series official Facebook page at facebook.com/ALMS.official. Full course caution here at Long Beach. The field will get gathered up, but for John Field, retribution from the crash before Sebring. Well, not only is Long Beach in the Grand Prix one of the attention getters on the West Coast, Camp Pendleton, the Marine base at Camp Pendleton, is as well. It is an impressive place. Corvette team, many of us from Speed were able to go and tour the assault vehicle program there that they do, the school, and it was impressive stuff, to say the least. A little flak jacket action for myself. Ollie Gavin getting ready to go. The commander, Doug Feehan, feels good with a helmet on. Calvin did not go. He can't swim. Dorsey, I'm sure, was having a travel nightmare, but it was impressive stuff, to say the least, to get to see what our Marines do at Camp Pendleton, and we'll have a little bit more later in the show, but impressive stuff. It's about to get impressive on pit lane. We said no mistakes. If you didn't make a mistake on the racetrack, it is now the crew's turn. No mistakes on these pit stops. There's your overall leader, John Field. We talked about how impressive it was and how much pressure is on that small team. We talked about budgets earlier. This is a bunch of friends and family, small team that brings in some weekend warriors, and they are about to have the biggest pit stop of their career.
Shut the car off.
Yeah, Brian, the nice thing is they're coming to a stop. John Field already out of the car in our second place car, not even to its pit box yet. So that team starting to work on their fuel. They're going to get Clint Field strapped in the car. Then we're going to see if they're going to put 4 new Dunlops on that. Lots of action down at this end of pit lane. Now all the prototypes in their boxes. We've got about 15 more cars here this year, so the same amount of real estate, so not a lot of space in pit lane. Some of the GT cars already heading out, having to move some of these prototypes around so they can launch out of here. Still waiting on the 37 car to finish up. And it looks like a lot of the GT cars not doing tire changes, so just fuel. And it looks like the one car, they just had to push the one car back, so they've got that car done. 37 cars still up in the air doing a tire change now, so that little team from Ohio getting beat out of pit lane by the Patron team.
Wow, what a recovery there. David Bram staying on that lead lap and then getting this caution break has really got them back in the hunt. And this has cost them dearly. I mean, they're going to certainly lose track position. What I was going to talk about there was if some of the GT cars got out ahead of the leader and some behind, that would essentially split the whole pack there. But I think the majority of the teams got out, so that class should stay in one pack together. Look how tight it is there. There's only about 3 feet between the front of your car and the gearbox of the car in front of you if you are pitted at the same time.
You see the Dyson entry getting out in front as well. Clint Field still trying to get his belts done up, I think, and get tightened in. I'm sure they're attached, but just trying to get things sorted out. And a very big difference between the size of John and his son, Clint Field, as well. They are back on track, but I know they are not at all pleased with that last pit stop. Jamie, what's going on your end of pit road?
There were some pretty impressive pit stops down in the GT ranks. The number 90 car, I've never seen them do a better pit stop. They did take tires, fuel, of course the driver change, as did the 62 car. They actually beat out the leaders. The 45 car also took tires and had a tremendously quick pit stop. The 17 Falcon tire car that we saw leading most of the early part of the race, they were a little bit slower out of pit lane. I think they got out about 5th. I have to look at the scoring monitor, but some really impressive stuff in the GT ranks. You can tell that these guys were really practicing the speed of the pit stop for this weekend.
When you look at it, we know the 92 was in earlier. They did not take tires on that BMW. They took fuel and no tires. The sister car, the 90, did take tires, and you got to wonder at this point in time, is that going to be the better strategy?
Well, right now the leader in GT is David Murray, the car ahead of the car that we're on board with. This is Tommy Milner in the 92. He's in great shape because what he did, they made that early pit stop, got Billy Oberlin out, put Tommy Milner in the car, didn't take tires, and that has really leapfrogged them to the front of the pack here by staying on the GT lead lap. That was the critical factor there. David Murray yet has not seen pit lane, so that lead will be temporary.
Under 40 minutes yet to go, and you've got to wonder about compounds. If Tommy Milner did not change tires, they've got to be on a harder compound. Was the 90 able to go to a softer compound tire with 40 minutes left in this race? Will that give them the ammunition to pounce? And right now on track, the 90 right behind the 92 and on fresh rubber.
I'd rather be in the 90.
You think, huh? Well, the other question is, how long will it take the Dunlops to get up to temperature as well? This is all strategy that is yet to unfold, but the man who put in the impressive drive, you talk about stamina and adrenaline and sheer determination, John Field certainly has it, Chris.
Yeah, John Field had close to a 30-second lead before that caution came out. But, John, what went wrong in pit lane? You guys gave it all back and more.
Yeah, we had to change tires. You know, I think all the Michelin guys were able to keep tires on. We had to change. We were getting real loose in the back, and I just thought it would be better for Clint. He's going to go to the end. He needs a good set of rubber.
Now, I know you've had some problems with one of your arms, one of your knees. How do you feel after that run?
Adrenaline fixes everything. You know, it's just part of driving, man. You drive with a little pain, it'll go away.
Dorsey, you were spot on.
I knew once he got that car in the front, he wasn't feeling nothing but happy, man.
That is an awesome story. That is tremendous stuff.
I mean, the determination on him is absolutely impressive. I talked about, the first test, but this is a guy, he's 54 years old, and he said, I feel better now than I ever have in my life. And don't forget, he didn't start racing until he was in his mid-30s, so this is not a guy who's been racing all of his life. He's just got waved around the pace car and then into the wall. I believe that's the number 11 LMP Challenge car.
Gerardo Bonilla behind the wheel. He has good prototype experience.
And that's just a rudimentary mistake to make. Cold tires, waved so by, and just drove too much speed in that corner.
He will be severely disappointed to make a mistake like that. Has a lot of prototype experience. Ran with the BK racing team alongside Ben Devlin a couple of years ago, but this is his first outing in one of these challenge cars. Let's take another look at it.
Here's the wave by watch. There's the pace car up front. Driver going, come on, come around, because he's going to send him around. And he accelerates like really hard.
Looks in his mirror.
Turns into turn one without slowing up.
No one's home there. Just like Chris Dyson when he was on that slick racetrack. Similar situation. Just not enough grip in the front tires and gets it wrong.
And you should only hope he comes away as good as Chris Dyson did.
Well, and you wonder how much pickup. Look at the tires right there in his face. He's hitting on them saying, guys, you need to move these. They're up against my helmet right now. So Bonilla pinned up underneath those tires. The last time he drove a prototype was at Petit Le Mans in 2008. So it's been a while. Safety workers there, and he's saying, thank you very much, because I'd really like to get out of this thing. But he had been behind the pace car. How much pickup did he have?
Well, it could be pickup as well. You're right about that. Cold tires, pickup, whatever. Car didn't turn. I'm a little bit surprised he's getting out of the car. I would have stayed in there and see if I can get lucky.
Absolutely.
Well, Auto Week and the American Le Mans Series are giving you the chance to win a 2011 Corvette Grand Sport and a trip to next year's 24 Hours of Le Mans. So go to www.americanlemans.com now for entry info. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity from Auto Week and the series, so don't miss it. That's AmericanLeMans.com. And if you go, you may even run into the speed crew over there. The fans, they have not gone anywhere. The battles will continue at Long Beach when we come back. The hottest online source for vehicles up for sale is on Speed, as Copart Sold in Seconds airs live Tuesday at 12 Eastern. From parts to perfect, see the cars and meet the owners. Copart Sold in Seconds live Tuesday at 12 Eastern, only on Speed.
I need a car.
Look at the bay out there. It is absolutely beautiful weather, and Chris Neville is caught up with David Brabham.
Talk about recovery, stop-and-go penalty all the way to first place. You got to be happy about what's going on. But with that car, the transmission, have things cleared up since the pit stop?
I don't really know. I haven't really heard from what Simon was saying. But problem is, during my run, the gear was kind of going up a gear when I didn't really want it to. So I had to drop it down, and sometimes I couldn't. And so I was having a few gearbox issues out there. But other than that, the Patron Highcroft racing car was running pretty well. A bit of action packed out there. I felt sorry for the Aston guys. I took a dive down the inside because it's the only place I could actually have a go because they're so damn fast on the straight. It's incredible. So I feel sorry for them. I went down and said sorry to them. But we've got some GE gas and Patron gas here. We're in the lead, so hopefully put on a good show for them.
Well, now that car's out front, we'll see if they can stay there.
Simon Pagenaud is going to have his hands full. That number one machine not running as well as it could have. We chronicled the gearbox problems that we talked about a little bit earlier, but right now the battle in GT is definitely heating up, and it's between teammates, Jamie.
It is. Bill Auberlin, you guys came into the pit stops early, one of the first GT cars. Was that just all part of the master plan?
Well, that was part of the strategy. I mean, with this BMW Rahal Letterman Racing, this is a lot of brain power in the background with Dunlop tires. Dunlop said, look, this tire is going to go the distance. You don't have to change it. It might not qualify quite as good. We were 6th and 7th, but it will run hard long. So we came in early to get out of sequence because I had a lot of speed. I just couldn't get by the guys. Came in early, out of sequence, made a great stop. I think it was 12 seconds, put in just enough fuel to get to the end, stayed on the same great Dunlop tires, and these guys did a great pit stop. Off we go to the end.
With two team cars battling back and forth, what are the team orders? Are you guys allowed to fight out there?
It seems that way. That's a little weird, but yeah, I mean, anybody's game. It's time to go win. It's time to go win a championship. These teams are head-to-head. I'm looking for anything. I got out of the car. I wasn't out of the car for 3 seconds, and I found a lucky penny. I picked it up. If I would have found a rabbit's foot, I'd have that right now. I mean, I hope we can keep it together.
All right, and Bill just told me, guys, he has never won here at Long Beach, so he's really looking forward to the finish today.
Just to clarify, Joey Hand in the car right behind Tommy Milner. The other BMW did not take tires. Jamie said that when she went over there, they had tires set up, almost like a fake for everyone else down pit lane. Did not take rubber. So the cars behind them, Pat Long in that Flying Lizard Porsche there with the yellow windshield. And now Jimmy Bruni and the 62 Risi Competizione Ferrari do have fresh rubber. They're going to be on the attack.
And because the GT guys got their pit stops done so quick, jumping all the prototypes, look at the mess it's caused here.
Well, the other thing to point out, remember, it was GT cars that we saw up front. That is the new rules for full course caution. The leaders come in. The pace car will pick up the next class leader. It just happened to be the GT guys. Our overall leaders a little bit further back, and I'm seeing a lot of small carbon shards out on the racetrack right now, and that is not good for tires.
And I think Simon Pagenaud still has that problem. Look at Pat Long. He didn't see Adrian Fernandez there, and he dives to the inside and takes second place away from Joey Hand.
And did you see the reaction Fernandez had? I mean, he just moved like a cat, instantly getting out of the way.
And
unbelievable.
If Fernandez had not been paying attention, that could have been big. Patrick Long with those fresh Michelin leapfrogs past Joey Hand. And there goes Adrian Fernandez. Let's get away from here while we can, guys. He wants to clear this GT battle.
And on that previous lap, Adrian had got around Klaus Graf. There's Klaus Graf to the left there of Joey Hand. So Klaus was in second spot. He lost that, but look at this down into turn 9.
And watch the Porsche right here. Just moves over to make a pass, and Adrian, just saw it right in the nick of time. This is an interesting little analogy right here. These cars get to the end of the straightaways with the same speeds. The braking distance is different, the cornering speed a little different, but it's really strange that all these different classes run almost the same straightaway speed.
The other thing that was impressive, you saw the left side tires of Adrian Fernandez on that big paint strip. That paint does not have grip. So he did a great job of keeping that Aston Martin under control. Right now, Patrick Long trying to mount an attack and move forward and get to Tommy Milner, but Milner has been able to pull out quite a bit as you ride on board the number 16. Guy Smith behind the wheel.
Well, they've kept themselves in the action here. The Guy Smith now behind the wheel of the 16 car. They are on the lead lap, so they are now in 4th position and closing in on Klaus Graf for 3rd spot. So this is a great recovery by the Dyson boys.
My question is, when you think about the BMWs and you know that Bill Auberlen and his guys came in a little bit early, they did not take tires. Why not split a strategy? Why not throw a softer set of Dunlops on the second car, give Joey Hand a little softer tire to get out there? One of the problems I know they've had with their soft compound Dunlop is that it did not last. We don't have a lot of time left in this event. We've had a lot of caution.
I think it was all about track position. Certainly they leapfrogged many of those GT cars in pit lane when they made that decision with the 90 car as well to not take tires. So it's really just one of those things. We see it in NASCAR now. Do you take tires? Do you don't? It's sort of damned if you do, damned if you don't, because if the other leaders don't, then suddenly you're at a disadvantage.
I would personally have track position over lap speed, because even if you're in front of a guy, you can hinder his lap speed by being in front of it.
Well, and of course, when we all wake up in the morning and we look at the paper and we hold the results in our hand, we can all say what we would have done.
Yeah, well, that's right.
Right now, Guy Smith trying to climb his way back up to the front, but talk about climbing your way back to the front. The Patron Highcroft team has done exactly that, and Simon Pagenaud leads overall from Long Beach in round 2 of the American Le Mans Series competition. You want to go to an event, you got to come to Long Beach next year and watch the American Le Mans Series machines around the beach. Well, we talked earlier about going to Camp Pendleton, visiting with the Marines down there at the Amphibious Assault Vehicle Program, and leave it up to the race car drivers from Corvette Racing to take a good look at everything and then kind of complain and compare about handling characteristics as well. They've always got to be on the cutting edge of technology. Surprised they didn't actually drive them, but the Marines wouldn't go quite that far. But even afterwards, they got to compare it to a race car.
A little bit loose. I think we need to sort out the change of direction a little bit, but no, it was an amazing ride. Fantastic fun. I was sitting up the front, fortunately, so I didn't get anywhere near as wet as the guys in the back. And Olivier, I think, got an absolute soaking, which it amused me a lot.
Going for a ride in those amphibious assault vehicles, there was strategy involved, just like here in the American Le Mans Series. You had to strategize on where you wanted to sit because you knew the water was going to be coming in. Problems for the 37.
I think we need to take the thing duck hunt myself.
Yeah, Clint's out of the car, so this could be day over for this team that led so impressively with John Field behind the wheel in the early going.
And so disappointing after the huge crash at Sebring and testing that we chronicled. But they did run well. They ran up front. And talk about running up front. This is your battle for GT. Patrick Long in the silver and red 45 Flying Lizard Porsche, all over the back of Tommy Milner in the 92 BMW.
Yeah, and he's looking really aggressive. He looks to the inside. Tommy defends. This is going to make him slow off this corner. Pat will try and set him up, get a good launch off of turn 8 down this back straightaway.
Good straightaway to get job done. He's trying to move to the inside. Milner blocking that attempt, but here he comes, and he's going to make it tight.
I was talking to Pat Long this morning, and he told me he was a little bit disappointed in himself following qualifying. He said he didn't do a very good job of managing the traffic out on the course, and by the time he got to lap 7, the tires were already past their prime. That's why they started a little further back, but he said he has something to prove following Sebring. They want to show that they're in this for the championship, just like they have been from years past, and right now they desperately need those championship points. So he said he was going to be battling hard today and try and get that win.
Look at him tucked right under the tail of that BMW. Tommy Milner goes to the inside. Will Pat try and cut back across? Goes to the outside. Oh, that's dangerous territory there. That's where the marbles are. He nearly lost it, Dorsey.
And Patrick Long is not going to like this defensive posture that Milner's doing, taking up the inside of all these corners. I see the chrome horn coming to use pretty soon.
Do you believe in karma? Last year, Pat Long, Jörg Bergmeister finished 4th at Sebring, went on a tear, winning 5 on a row to clinch the championship. Where did they finish this year at Sebring? 4th.
And look at the prototype traffic behind him. Pat Long trying like crazy not to get the LMPC car between him and Milner.
Well, that's just it. You don't want another class car in there, but the battle for the LMP Challenge is about 2 cars back. And Patrick Long, remember, on the fresh Michelin tires, Tommy Milner on those older Dunlops that car has been on since the drop of the green. And here comes the battle in LMP Challenge. The 11 car right there is not in the title fight, but you're right on board with Christophe Bouchou. And look at this. This is not what Patrick Long wants to see.
Nor Bouchou, for that matter. He doesn't want this big Porsche right in front of him holding him up.
Well, Christophe is one of the most aggressive drivers on the grid, so he's going to be pushing hard. He doesn't care about the battle in GT in front of him.
And here's what's awkward about these new LMP Challenge cars. They really need to give them more straightaway speed because they stall out at the same speed that the GT car does.
Bouchou, the second challenge car in line, is second in the LMP Challenge category. Third in LMP Challenge is the red number 36 with Tom Sutherland behind the wheel, right behind Patrick Long. And the only thing Patrick can hope for right now is that this battle with LMP Challenge will help stall Tom Milner a little bit and bring that fight back to him. But right now, it's nothing but challenge cars around, and that has got news, not good news for Patrick Long.
Well, Patrick Long is talking through his team to the officials, saying, I want him to quit blocking me.
Side by side there on the challenge cars. Bouchou working through that lap car, the number 11, trying to get past it and going a little bit further back. Take a look at the 62. Jimmy Bruni behind the wheel and Jan Magnussen in the number 3 Corvette, bringing the title fight back to the Corvette, trying to take that yellow powerhouse back to the front.
Oh boy, here we go. Look at this down at the end of the back straightaway down into turn 9. Now remember, Jan Magnussen is on a 2-race probation following that incident with Jörg Bergmeister in the finale at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca at the end of last season. And talking to the Flying Lizards, one of their reasons for the strategy of starting Jörg Bergmeister and having Pat Long finishes, they didn't want Jörg to be in the thick of a battle where he really had to be conservative. So that's why they chose that strategy.
Gunnar Jeanette, you're right on board with him, the leader in LMP Challenge, and once again, classes mixing it up out there, getting in the way of other battles on the racetrack. Jan Magnussen does not want to see that challenge car behind him.
And you see how awkward it was? Because the Corvette launched better than the LMPC car. It opened up a big gap, but then the LMPC car caught up right in the brake zone. That makes it very awkward for the drivers.
And remember, this is very different racing for the Corvette guys. They were used to running in GT1, and now in this GT category, it is what GT2 used to be. They're not used to this type of competition, and they're still learning how to make these cars go in this class with this weight and this horsepower.
And they love it. I tell you what, they love competition. Yes, they dominated in GT1 for many years, and it certainly had some competition over the years with Ferrari certainly and the Oreca Vipers early on, but they just love to be in the heat of this battle.
And look at this. That is the leader in LMP Challenge, Gunnar Jeanette. But Jan Magnussen says, I don't care. I cannot let that Ferrari get away from me.
One of the keys with this Corvette and this new production-based 5.5-litre motor was the drivability has not been good. I spoke to Danny Binks, who's crew chief on the 3 car this morning. He said, we've even been running this car around the parking lot, around the race shop, just in terms of the low speed. And they said, we've really made some gains getting off the hairpin. Look for us to get a good launch off that corner.
Good stuff here. We talked about it early on. 4 different classes, all racing at the same time. You can catch all of the action of the American Le Mans Series presented by Tequila Patron on its official YouTube channel, ALMS Official Videos. So get your video fix of the American Le Mans Series through YouTube, with more available at AmericanLeMans.com. The Battle of the Beach, we said it would be a good one, and it certainly is. It's Simon Pagenaud who leads overall, but we've got great battles all around this circuit. If you want to keep up with all the results and the stats from the racetrack, check out the new American Le Mans Stats Package. Get the latest practice and qualifying reports, race results, and driver standings. Go to the ALMS section of speedtv.com, and you can get all that information right there. We talked about it being a battle on the streets between the drivers and the car manufacturers. Tire manufacturers are in the thick of that battle as well, Chris.
Well, and Michelin stresses that they race to learn, and their tire engineers learn from racing at the streets of Long Beach. They take that information and they put it right into the tires that we use on the streets. And earlier this week, before cars even hit the racetrack, Michelin won 3 major awards from J.D. Powers. And customer satisfaction, Michelin's now amassed 4 times as many awards as all of their competition combined. Amount of awards that mirrors exactly what they've done in the American Le Mans Series.
Well, that Michelin Street Soft tire has taken the overall win at every ALMS street circuit ever since making their debut at St. Petersburg in 2008. That's pretty impressive. I don't know how many of these guys are running those Street Softs today, but look at this battle back in GTC. That is not a Michelin tires that they run, but it is still a great battle. And you look at this battle right here, it's between Alex Job Racing teammates. Remember, they were 1-2-3 at Sebring.
Right now they're running 1-2, and Romeo Caputo in the lead car, the 23 car, the battery tender machine, is doing an awesome job, feeling the heat from a very experienced driver there, Butch Leitzinger, none other than he, who's had so much success in the prototype ranks over the years.
These new cars are, of course, equal. They're all 911s. They all weigh the same engines, most to say. So it's going to make for a good clash, but they really are quite fast in the straightaway because they're narrow. They don't have the fender flares and things that GT cars have. So as a result of that, on these long straightaways, they have good top end numbers.
And Butch Leitzinger was saying that Long Beach obviously requires a very different mindset than Sebring. He said for Sebring, your chief concern was trying to be sympathetic to the car. He said you come to Long Beach, you just try to wring its neck. And I think that's what John Field was doing earlier in the prototype, but that's exactly what Butch Leitzinger has going on right now, trying to take that fight to his teammate. Impressive stuff for Alex Job Racing on his return to the American Le Mans Series to not only finish 1-2-3, but they qualified first, second, and third as well at Sebring.
They had a problem with the 81 machine. Luis Diaz actually had a big shunt here just on the second lap of opening practice on Friday morning, and that team has really just been in recovery mode with the 80 car. But right now, the other 2 cars for Alex Job looking really strong out front.
Yeah, Cal, that accident that Luis had in that morning practice, essentially cold tires, new brakes, and a very green racetrack. So just a big mistake, really wiped out the entire left side of that car. Massive damage. They lost all of that first practice, then finally got the car on the racetrack late in the day. But that tub is bent, so that team has to plan on going back to Florida to try and straighten that tub out before they go to Laguna Seca.
Well, that's one thing about these cars. They are monocoque street chassis cars, so you can put them up on a frame jig, pull them back straight again, and then realign everything, go back to work.
And right behind this battle is the car of James Safronis in GT Challenge, running third in the order right there. And a guy that certainly knows the streets of Long Beach very well. He's run in the World Challenge competition here. You see his red Porsche come into view right there behind the blue and white 81. So a great battle in GTC.
And Dorsey, you were saying all these cars the same. Essentially 80% of this field, they are the same exact car, but that car is a World Challenge car. The real difference there, it's a narrow body, narrow track 2008 car. The only other car that is also different is the TRG car. That is a Rolex Series competition car running a 3.6 liter motor, so not as much torque as the other cars that come essentially from Porsche Super Cup in Europe.
Guys, I think I found the headlight bucket that got run over on the front straightaway.
We had seen a headlight bucket destroyed on the front straightaway, and I think you're right, Dorsey. I think we know where it came from. James Safronis lost a part, and he's not going to get it back.
No, he's not going to get it back.
At least not in the form from which it left the Porsche that he is driving right now. Very experienced in Porsches, as I said, a regular competitor in the World Challenge, so he's doing a good job trying to hold on to that lead battle that's happening in front.
Tell you what, Romeo Caputo is being very impressive here and holding down the lead, feeling the pressure from Butch Leitzinger. So far, he has not put a foot wrong. I watched him in practice the other morning coming through turn 9. I'm like, boy, he is really hooked up the car, had a great rhythm to it, Dorsey. And once you start to feel comfortable in one of these cars around a street circuit, you just get into a groove.
Big debris on the straightaway on the front there. I don't know what that's off of, but it's a substantial part. Let's put it that way.
It is definitely a substantial part. Just halfway between the hairpin and the start-finish line, it looks like it could be a wing. Hard to tell from this angle as you see Simon Pagenaud flash around the 45. That is your overall leader in Simon Pagenaud, and the 45 of Patrick Long now leads in GT. So Patrick Long has gotten past Tommy Milner in the BMW, and Long, we heard Jamie say, wanted to make amends for what he didn't think was a very good qualifying run. Certainly getting the job done here, and remember, he and Jörg Bergmeister won this event in 2009.
Let's take a look at how Pat Long got the lead away from that BMW. Remember, he's so impressive here. You talk about being the defending class champion here, Brian. He also led in the P2 category back in 2008 driving for Penske.
I noticed a lot of dentage on the front of the Porsche. Let's take a look here. As he's already made that pass, we're on board the 92.
Obviously happened under braking at the end of the back straightaway. The Porsche looks like it is handling really well, but I saw the damage as well, Dorsey. Some dents in the front, but what's impressive to me, right in front of Patrick Long, flashing out of the view, is the 007 Aston Martin. Here we go, on board with Tommy Milner.
Take a listen.
Down in turn 9, Tommy gets in really shallow there, nearly runs out of road. I think he had to be defending there, Dorsey. He was on the right side of the racetrack into the brake zone. That cost him on the exit.
That's the problem. If you run down the inside to block that lane, you can't make the corner.
And look at Jimmy Bruni there. He's trying to make his way through on Tommy Milner as well, taking the long way around, but then gets loose.
He got in that debris, and there was a lot of debris there.
Trying to get it back. There's... Oh, look at the
Pat
little
got in
rub
late,
there.
got him a little bit sideways, and Tommy's served him up a little dose there.
Says, I am not done just yet, but Patrick Long now able to pull out a little bit of a gap. You see the number 6. Muscle Milk Team Cyto Sport right behind him. The 6 is Klaus Graf. Remember, he and Greg Pickett won along with Sasha Maassen at Sebring at the 12-hour event. So great news for that team. Bill Auberlen looking on as well, trying to keep track of what his teammate is doing out on the racetrack. Right now it's Simon Pagenaud, but Adrian Fernandez, he's mounting a charge, only 2.5 seconds back. This race is far from over. Come back and we'll take you to the checkered flags from here in Long Beach. We talked about different fuels being used earlier in the Michelin Green X Challenge. Here's a look at the fuels capable or eligible to be running here in the American Le Mans Series. You see the E10 ethanol, the E85R, the gasoline blended ethanol, then the GTL biodiesel that we've seen the Peugeots and the Audis run in the past, the electrical hybrid power that we've seen run in the past as well. And we talked about Fernandez coming. There it was. He's made the charge. He's taken advantage of Simon Pagenaud. He's gotten by him, and Fernandez back to the point.
And you got to wonder right now if Pagenaud's got that gearbox problem. I think he probably does, because he got closed in on really quickly, and Fernandez is gone.
Traffic involved as well, so maybe it's a combination of all three things. The straight line speed of Adrian Fernandez in the Aston Martin, the gearbox issues with the Highcroft machine, and traffic. What it means is he's lost the lead.
But what is important is think about championship. The 007, Harold Premat, Adrian Fernandez, they are not here for the championship. They will not be running all year long. You can't fight too hard with a car that's not going to be involved in the championship. So perhaps Simon Pagenaud just said, you know what, we've got to be there for the end. We want a championship at the end of the season. If it gets too touchy, let him go.
That's an important factor, because all of the P1 and P2 points from Sebring were consolidated, but anyone who's not a full-time entrant did not score points. So coming into this round, there's actually a tie for the lead between the Drayson machine and Klaus Graf and the Muscle team who won in P2 at Sebring.
Yeah, guys, we had speculated that they were going to try and change out the steering wheel on that one car, and I don't think that they either got a chance to do that or it wasn't the electronics. So Simon Pagenaud still dealing with gearbox issues. Johnny Cocker right now sitting in pit lane as they're trying to fix this car. That was all the debris on the racetrack. This car came into pit lane. The tail section of the car just completely blown away, and also the nose, a lot of damage up there. They've already got the tail section fixed, but they're trying to get a new nose on the car. The real problem is they lost the left side rear view mirror, so they're trying to get a new rear view mirror in place, and they're duct taping it down. They have to have a rear view mirror on that left side of the car before it can go back on the racetrack.
Well, Simon Pagenaud may have fallen to second place, but he is certainly not giving up right now. You couldn't have put a piece of paper between the left side of that Honda and the wall.
I think he actually brushed the wall just a little bit. Now, on the infield portion of this racetrack, his gearbox issue will not affect the car. It only is affecting the car at the top end of the two longer straightaways, when he's going out of fourth into fifth and sixth. That's when it's really shifting all over the place, and he can't control it.
Yeah, and David Bradham explained it was basically going up a gear when he didn't need it. He's having to click it back, and you just lose all of the momentum. And these cars, the P2 specification prototype car that the number one car doesn't have the horsepower of these Aston Martins, certainly, so that will really just handicap them even further in the fast sections of this racetrack.
We saw the 37 of John and Clint Field run so well early on, but they had problems. Clint was out of the car. Chris, what happened?
Well, I talked to Clint Field, and he said, you know what, we ended up having a fuel leak in that car. Before it came to the grid, they actually had a clutch leak too. So John Field was kind of like, man, this weekend just doesn't sound like it's going to be great. He goes out there, he leads the race. So the highest highs to the lowest lows, they end up with a fuel issue, massive fuel leak in the car. So right now, the 37 sitting stationary, but really everybody on the team still smiles on their face with the performance that John put in the first half.
Yeah, good job, but you do not mess with a fuel leak. As we see the 89, one of the LMPC cars is backwards on the racetrack.
Mitch Pagery behind the wheel. That is an Intersport entry as well, and good job of turning it around. Little drifting competition going on.
I'm guessing that's not his first attempt at that.
Probably not. You see Fernandez bolt out of the hairpin. Pagenaud in the green. Patron Highcroft entry behind him. You hear us talk about Honda. A lot of people I know were going, well, I thought that was an Acura, but it is a Honda Performance Development ARX01C is what they call it this year. So it has changed names. A lot of stuff stays the same. In fact, it is the same car. The name has just been changed.
Difference is this year they took the two fastest guys from their lead cars last year and have now teamed them together. Simon Pagenaud, David Bradham. What a driving combination they will be this year. Simon loves this place. His U.S. debut in racing was here in Atlantic. He sat on the pole, eventually finished fourth, and in Champ Car had a tremendous podium finish as well.
2.5 minutes left in this event. Pagenaud not giving up, continuing to charge. Anything could happen. Fernandez could get caught in traffic as you see him go around the RSR Jaguar. There onto the back straightaway. Anything could happen. You cannot quit.
Got to keep the pressure on, Dorsey. He's got to be there to take advantage if Adrian hits traffic.
And you see how Simon Pagenaud closes that gap on the infield part where he's not up in that 5th and 6th gear mode. He has to utilize that part of the racetrack. He knows it because when he gets on that straightaway, that shifting problem costs him time.
We'll take a look right now from the helicopter. It closes right in through the hairpin. Now watch the speed differential down the straightaway.
2 minutes. There's 2 minutes remaining.
Rob Hill on the radio to Simon Pagenaud. Look at him stretch down there. 15 miles an hour is the difference in speed down his front stretch.
It's more exaggerated than that now because he's not able to get into the gears properly.
Seems just about the line. It all falls apart there for Pagenaud. Should be 2 laps left to go, so about a minute and a half, 2 minutes at the line. They're running 1:16 lap times, so it's going to be 2 more laps to go. Listen.
This is on board with Simon Pagenaud when the pass was made by Adrian Fernandez. End of the straightaway, nothing he can do. It's too dangerous to try and block at these sort of speeds. But he's right on him. He is right on him. This is where David Bradham went down the inside of Harold Premat.
Oh, he's going to get a wide shot.
This is the only place he can run good on this infield. He's got to make it stick here.
But here we go, down the straightaway. And the legs get stretched on the Aston Martin. The transmission problems, the gearbox problems for Pagenaud. Takes a look inside. Nothing doing. Just about 50 seconds left. They'll get 1 more lap. Pagenaud, it's not over yet.
It is really close. He needs a bit of traffic, though, Dorsey. I think he needs a roadblock for Adrian Fernandez to be able to make this pass.
This is heartbreaking right here. Watch what happens. Nothing he can do.
If you've got anything, let's see it.
I think you have been seeing it.
If you've got anything, let's see it. Look at the gap at the line and watch Pagenaud claw his way back up to the back wing of that Aston Martin when they get through the tighter sections of this racetrack.
He'll be a demon right through here for sure.
This is his section. This is where he really pulled it in qualifying yesterday. Look at Adrian Fernandez scrambling for grip there through the fountain turn. Pagenaud's close. Pagenaud is really close.
Oh, Adrian gets sideways.
He gets it.
Can he hold it? He's in the lead now, but can he keep it? He slides back to the inside the block a little bit. Fernandez setting up to make a run.
That's the big bump there off 5 where Adrian lost it.
You've got to out-drag him. You heard the radio say Fernandez trying to square the corner, getting in the throttle on the Aston Martin.
Got to defend. GTC car right in front of him. Simon may have enough. Here comes Adrian Fernandez, last lap of the race.
Won't get him here, but will he get him down to the start-finish line?
Hear the crew. Keep him behind you. Keep him behind you. He's been so quick through here, but he's going to catch LMP challenge traffic.
No, he didn't do it.
Oh, there's fluid coming out of that challenge car right in front of him.
The launch, go, go, go. You hear the checkered flag waves. Simon Pagenaud, an unlikely victor, but he takes the checkered flag. We talked about a street fight. Incredible. I don't think anybody thought it could be that close, and yet it was. Simon Pagenaud, no quit from the cockpit. Take a look.
Here we go, down into turn 5. Adrian Fernandez just loses it on the bump there, gets a little bit sideways, narrowly misses the tires. Here comes Simon Pagenaud on the power, gets the lead.
And this is where Simon earns his money, because now he's going to have to hold him off with less car.
From on board. He pulls the lead right there, but now can he hold it? That was the big question from the helicopter. Fernandez wide. Spectacular stuff. Simon Pagenaud holds on to take the lead here at Long Beach and takes a hard-earned victory. We'll be back for what is sure to be celebration. Speed's coverage of the American Le Mans Series is presented by Tequila Patron. Brought to you in part by Jaguar. Test drive the 2010 Jaguar XF at your award-winning Jaguar dealer. Well, there'll probably be plenty of Tequila Patron consumed tonight by the Patron Highcroft team. We said an unlikely victory for Pagenaud and Brabham, especially in light of the stop-and-go penalty that they had early on, but Pagenaud definitely created some magic in the number one machine here today. Spectacular stuff.
Well, Simon Pagenaud and David Brabham come back from a stop-and-go penalty to get the win today. Simon, we heard Robin Hill on the radio say it's the last lap. You got to get him, and you did.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, I keep telling Adrian, he's too old for this. You know, he's got to stop now. Leave it to the young guys. I mean, it was fantastic. I mean, the car was just brilliant. The team did a great job in the pits. You know, we gained most of track position in the pits, and then the car ran brilliantly. The mission tires were just not showing any sign of weaknesses. And I just kept pushing till the last lap, thinking, maybe something would happen to Adrian, and it did. And what a close battle, but always very clean with Adrian.
Adrian, the V12 was just so awesome today, but a lot of damage at the back end of this car. Did that affect you getting off the corners on that last lap?
Oh, of course, it didn't help for sure, and we had quite a bit of problems on the braking. The brakes, they were not working well right from when Harold was on the car. So I was just trying not to use them so hard and try to use one of the corners. But at the end, I locked too much in the last corner that the brakes were just fading. And I locked too much the rear ones, and it got me out. I almost spun. I almost hit the wall, and I was just very lucky to keep going.
Congratulations, guys. Great battle.
All four classes would have great battles, and indeed they did. Jörg Bergmeister, Patrick Long take back-to-back victories here at Long Beach. And for Patrick Long, has to be a special one, considering he considers this track his home track. So I know a lot of celebration in the Flying Lizard camp.
Patrick Long, you told me after qualifying you weren't pleased with your result. You've got to be happier with the race.
Yeah, I felt bad for my guys. I left a little on the table in qualifying, just getting a little bit balked by traffic, but that was an unbelievable pit stop by them. It got us up front after a tough opening stint. Then it was me and Tommy fighting. He didn't take tires, we did, so we had a better car. I gave him about 6 laps to block me, and then I had to make it happen. We talked, he got me back, so it's tit for tat, but awesome job by the Flying Lizards. Porsche was unbelievable here, and it's great to win at home.
It was a street fight indeed, from GT to GT Challenge, where Alex Job comes out on top again with their entry of Juan Gonzalez and Butch Leitzinger. He said early, you're just going to have to wring the neck of it here at Long Beach, and that's exactly what they did.
Juan Gonzalez and Butch Leitzinger go back-to-back victories in rounds 1 and 2. Butch, great race. It looks like it was a perfect race because there's not a mark on the car.
I mean, we need to touch wood or something because we've had 2 hard races, but the cars come out without a scratch. Juan did a great job on the opening stint. Thank you. Good job to you. And, Alex Job Racing just does a fantastic job.
A fantastic job indeed. And what about LMP Challenge? For Alex Job, it was a repeat win. But for the guys in the 99 squad at Team Gunner, it was a first victory for both Elton Julian and Gunnar Jeanette.
Gunnar Jeanette started second today, but made that pass early, led most of the race. How was it? How were you able to do it?
It was great. We had a wonderful car. Mark Showman, our engineer, played the whole race perfectly. The car was wonderful. The G-Oil worked just like it always does. Elton did a fantastic job in the first stint, and I've got to thank our guys. They killed it in the pit stop.
Well, we talked about pit stops being the key to the race, but was this one as good as you thought it was going to be? I called it a street fight. I think it definitely was.
Well, we came here to see a street fight. We saw one. I've been coming here a long time. This is one of the best I've seen in a long time. Good job, boys.
And Dorsey, I didn't think anyone would come down pit lane twice today and still come out on top. Unbelievable stuff by Simon Pagenaud there at the finish.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing that happened because we kept saying, how can that be? Here are the next 4 races in the American Le Mans Series calendar. Laguna Seca, that'll be on CBS. We'll get you back in July for Salt Lake, and then Lime Rock in July, and then Mid-Ohio back on CBS. But the championship in all 4 classes right now, very, very close in round 2. Go to AmericanLeMans.com to find out just how close it is. Up next on Speed, AMA Pro Racing. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you soon.